Dave Webb, the UK chairperson of the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. Thanks so much for being with us. You know, there have been countless efforts and several victories in the effort to rid the world of nuclear weapons, but there have also been some setbacks, particularly in the past few years. Overall, though, are we safer today than we were a few decades ago?
Well, I don't think so, and a lot of people would agree with me, I think. In particular, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, they put their doomsday clock. This is the clock which indicates how close we are to Armageddon, basically. They've set that to 100 seconds to midnight, midnight being the time when the horrible kind of events occur. And that's the closest it's ever been since it was first initiated. So they believe, and many other people too believe, that we are closer now to the possible extermination of humanity than we've probably ever been.
And why? I mean, how would it happen? What are they envisioning?
Well, they combine two huge problems that we face into their assessment. The first is nuclear weapons. The second is climate change. And they're not unrelated because the military is partly responsible, largely responsible perhaps, for the carbon emissions that are causing climate change. So unless we address these huge problems globally, then something awful is going to happen. And it looks like no huge steps are being taken at the moment, except one in terms of nuclear weapons, and that is the UN Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which is coming into force as soon as 50 states sign and ratify it. And we're just 10 states away from that at the moment. And there's every indication that that will become into force by the end of this year, which means that this will be then the normal state of affairs, that nuclear weapons will be considered basically illegal, even if the nuclear weapon states haven't signed that treaty yet.
Okay, so there is some good news. But I have to bring in the events of the last couple days. I mean, when we see, for example, the destruction wreaked on Beirut from an explosion of ammonium nitrate, should we be as concerned with the threat, of nuclear weapons that are far better monitored? I mean, is their existence and storage more dangerous than what we just saw in Lebanon, for example?
Absolutely, absolutely. One nuclear weapon, would destroy the whole of the city. There's no comparison. A nuclear weapon is astonishingly powerful, and this is one of the problems that we face today, because the vast majority of the human race has now been born and brought up in a nuclear age. So nuclear weapons have been around now for 75 years, as you said earlier, and people have become kind of accustomed to them. They've forgotten what effects they have. And it's the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki reminding us every year, the survivors. There are still very few survivors of those two bombs who saw it firsthand. And many people have written testimonies and very moving statements about what happened just for those two bombs, two very small bombs compared with what nuclear weapons are today. So, that was a horrible experience in Beirut, but it doesn't really compare with what a nuclear weapon explosion is capable of doing.
And that is frightening. Okay, Dave Webb, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us from Leeds.